Hello, fellow comic book worms, otaku, and how shall you call your Rachel Ghost people?
Rachel Ghost Boo, yeah, is my. Well, you don't have the titles up. Like on my channel, I always put the thing on.
Oh
Rachel,
yeah, title. I probably can set that up. It's early in the game, so let me do
and
that.
everybody knows who I am throughout the thing. They go, "Who the
Yeah.
hell's that there?" Yeah.
Okay, how do I do that?
It's over in the branding. Yeah, I think you can do it in brand over on the far right, where you've got um, StreamYard, all your settings there.
All right. Well, Naman Young figures that out. I'm just going to introduce Rachel,
Okay.
and she's a bit, one of the community members, and we just want to feature her. And I'm just going to let her introduce herself and to the channel.
There you go.
Hi guys, I'm so happy. I'm thrilled actually to be here. This is a nice change, Naman, for me and Otaku because I have a music channel. You can see I'm surrounded. These are all records. The old record things that you have. Some people, old people had them. Then there was compact discs. Those ones are little 45s. And I'm a big Beatles fan. My favorite band's the Beatles. So this here, from there to there, is all the Beatle albums. More Beatles, 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 Beatles. Then you go John Paul,
Wow.
George, and Ringo over there. But it's classic rock. And that section there is Sue, my wife. She's got jazz. We've put all the jazz collection over in there. And my channel is a live streaming thing that I do 3 hours a day, each and every day, starting at 6 o'clock in the morning on the west coast of Canada. So I'm Canadian in Nanaimo, BC, just moved here a year ago. And but I'm again to reiterate, I'm just thrilled to be here with you guys. And I'm a lifelong comic book kid. I was born in 1958, so you got to think 1966 Batman comes on television, and I'm the market audience. I'm a God. What is it? I'm an 8 year old. So you're 8 years old. What's the 8 year old? These are the comic books. So it started with Batman, and there's Harry, my good friend Harry, also in Seattle, or he's in Puyallup,
Oh,
Otaku.
nice.
Yeah.
Welcome,
So
Harry.
so we do music, but a lot of us in the vinyl community, we are
Hello,
comic book.
Harry.
But guys, I'm very much a product of my generation. And full disclosure, so people don't go, "What the hell's going on?" I'm a transgender type, so I'm born male, had an operation, and all that stuff. So I function socially as a female. So it's kind of messed up, but it's my own psychiatry, so I deal with it as best I can. But we always want to be as forthcoming and not to confuse people any more than we absolutely have to. So, anyway, I'm thrilled. I'm happy. I want to talk about comic books and answer any questions that you gentlemen may have.
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
let's start with your love of music. You have a what looks like a beautifully very well lit display back there of your
Yeah,
records.
yeah.
Can I ask about the guitar? What's the guitar back there?
Gibson Les Paul traditional 2014, the 120th anniversary model. The Gibson, all these guitar companies play around with different titles and different makes. So the Les Paul is a kind of a dream. I'm another one of these middle-aged people that could never afford that when I was a teenager, when I should have been playing it and having it. And then you get older and you retire. I'm retired now. And you can live out these fantasies. So you see these old guys, they're little shriveled little old guys, but they're driving around 68 Corvettes because they finally have the money to buy like these great cars that they may have wanted when they were kids but could never afford. So
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So it gives. I can play it. It's not just for show. I can play it. And the
Yeah.
other thing is and the traditional, by the way, is basically in 2014 what they now call a standard. And so it's got kind of like the ivory stuff
Wow.
heads on it instead of the steel. Those are the ones that I remember when I was younger seeing. And then this thing here, I'm very nostalgic, by the way, Otaku and Naaman. You'll find that out by the time we're done here. And then over here, I've got a Gretsch. That's T series, Gresh, with 3 pickups. One, as you can see there, which is a little unusual. Bigsby vibrato and Cat's Eye.
Wow.
So it's what's called a semi-hollow body, and that's a Fender Deluxe Reverb reissue with tubes in it, but it's also got a computer board in it. So a little combination there. So lots of kind of goodies and things around. You want a comfortable environment, and these are my ADS M1290s vintage speakers, but they they're actually a reissue from 1990, so they're an improvement over what they originally were.
Keep up.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so big time in that. I call him the boss. This is Jim, Record Collector News. He's absolutely fantastic. Nicest guy going. Jim, I'll take every opportunity in the world I have. He is the editor, publisher of Record Collector News. And featuring on this, Neil Young, legend. This is from the December issue. He's got a new issue, of course. It's What Are We Doing? 60 years ago since the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan, February 9th, 1964. And so the next issue is all going to be very Beatle-oriented. But I have to say, the Ghosty Awards, this is my channel. And Jim was very kind in helping me promote this. It's over on my channel. Anybody interested? It's kind of funny. We had Joey Callio come in and help us out. And Joey Callio is an incredibly gifted professional musician. And he's with the band Data from Southern California, LA area. Then he went on to do Seven Horse, which he's currently involved with. And with Seven Horse, they had the hit Zozu Meth Lab Zozu sticker. And that song appeared in Martin Scorsese's 2011 film, The Wolf of Wall Street, starring Leo DiCaprio. So very cool for Joey to get his song in on that big time film, right? And so anyway, a lot of good people in my life. Jim is one of them. So I call him a friend. Not only is I call him the boss because I help out, we do a little work for him on this, but I call him a friend as well. Same with Harry. I knew people that I don't know.
It's good to meet you, Jim and Harry. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah,
we got K-pop here. We have a Ben Compton here.
So Rachel, you mentioned you were retired. What kind of work did you do before?
I'm a ne'er-do-well. Hi, George. Ne'er-do-well. I was last real jobs. I was in construction for a long time. Otaku. I was like housekeeping at a hospital. I did the final job I did was I was a jail guard for a municipal. What we have municipalities up here in Canada. I was a municipal jail guard. So basically, a glorified babysitter for drunk people. So that when they get arrested and they're in the can, they're in the jail cell, they don't hurt themselves. So my job was to ensure we'd have them on monitor 24/7, so there would never be any possible harm coming to them. Which is why I look at the drama surrounding Jeffrey Epstein and how the cameras went out and he was, self-harm kind of thing. And you kind of go. As somebody who worked in that kind of system, I go.
Yeah, very suspect.
Yeah, extremely. Because it was our job. People like me, we take it very seriously. You want to save lives. You don't want anybody being hurt,
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure.
Anyway,
I'm sure that guy kept he had probably a cache of records on dark secrets of the people he was associated with.
Yeah, and I don't want to belabor it too much, but I'll be equal opportunity there. He had a picture in his, when you came into the foyer in his New York home, he had a picture of George Bush playing with little building blocks. This is an oil painting that he had done. He's playing with these little building blocks. He's holding in his hand a little paper airplane. There's 2 of them, 2 New York towers, if you will, and there's these 2 airplanes. He's got one, and the one's already knocked over. One of the things there, cross-legged on the floor. The other one is
Hey, Rod. Happy hippie.
Happy hippie is Rod. We love Rod. and the other one's got a picture of Bill Clinton in a blue dress with red heels. In a blue dress. Imagine that, Bill Clinton. What's that happening? So yeah. So to speak to your point, Otaku, yeah, I think he had some dope on some people, and of course, Ghislaine Maxwell is arrested for human trafficking. But who did she traffic to? We don't have a single arrest from the twos, and the twos seem to be a bunch of well-heeled people. So
Yeah.
interesting times in which we live, gentlemen. But anyway, so that's that. Keep firing the questions.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into your favorite bands. It looks like you just have an appreciation for. Well, yeah, we know you love the Beatles. Let's start there. Yeah. Talk about how you got into the Beatles.
Cultural, man. Voice of a generation, changing the world. Coming in 1964. So the music was so likable. For myself, of course, as a kid, I'm into kid things. So as a kid, I'm into, where's my comic books? As a kid, I'm into this. So I'm doing this. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Check the King Kirby. This is newer stuff. Somebody said, there's more. Fantastic Four, my favorite.
Nice.
So I'm doing kid stuff. I'm into G.I. Joe 1965. Had a 1965 G.I. Joe. That was the thing I wanted most in the world. Ricardo, te amo. And man, I'm so happy we were able to bring some of our people over for you guys.
I see a lot of vinyl community people over here.
Yeah,
I recognize them.
So the Beatles are really big, but as a kid, I was into kid stuff. But then as puberty hits, I'm 13 years old, 1973, the Beatles, I'm 15. And now I'm moving away I actually moved away from comics during a period of time. We'll talk about that if we have time. I want to talk about Jack Kirby, the king of comics. And, I'm 15 years old, and the Red Album, the Beatles' Red Album comes out. If you don't know what that is, I'm gone. They just I just go over here to I got all this stuff like that. So I would have brought it out already if I'd known. But they just reissued these with an extra album. But they call them the Red and Blue album. So these are greatest hits.
Oh yeah,
right?
oh, yeah.
62 to 66 and 67 to 70. So they came in two flavors, red and blue. And this is just amazing. And it's a beautiful set. Do I recommend you get it? No, save money. Go to a secondhand store and go find one of the old ones. You'll be happy. But the cover is here. The Beatles at the headquarters of EMI in London. You open up the gorgeous gatefold. And so the original opened up just like this. It didn't have the credit here. That says St. Pancras, the old church. My 3 times great-grandparents were married at this church in the 1800s. Oh. It's a very old church in London. And so anyway, 1973, this album, my buddy got it. He had it. And I go, I want to hear that. So we play it at his place. He said, do you want to borrow it? I go, do I? Yeah, please, please. So he lent it to me. He got it back 5 years later. Five year later. When you're 15, 20, I'm 20.
Star Trekker.
Here you go. You can have it back. I love Star Trekker. He's a good friend. So I had the Archies. I had Archie comic books. I collected everything. I had Dell. I had Gold Key. I had Charlton Comics. What was the ones, the old with the classic comics with Tom Sawyer and Ivanhoe.
But
and, they had
called classic, by the way. I think they're called just classics.
Yeah, I think just classic comic books, right? So I had those. I had Magnus Robot Fighter. Magnus
Role Sling?
Holy smokes, man, we're going back.
Yeah.
What about the Metal Man? Do you collect Metal Man?
Yeah, I don't. But see, in the 60s, everything was different. So when I'm buying comic books in the Silver Age, I'm a Silver Age person. So I come by very honestly. I'm all over the map because I can do comic books, I could do the music, the rock and roll. I also
just ping pong all the way through.
there's so much I'm into, man. So I love Star Trek. I'm a huge Trekkie. I love Star Trek. I was
Love
the
Star
original.
Trek
Our
too.
world was Trekkie.
Yeah, the original series, man. I met Nichelle Nichols. I went to a convention. I come by my comic books lore very honestly, man. I'm just all into it. And when in the '60s and stuff, it was like I was just to absorb.
Illustrated classic. Illustrated classic is what they.
Yeah, that's it. Classics Illustrated.
Yeah.
That's the one. Classics Illustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So I had those, but they weren't my favorite. And then it was cartoons too. I'm a product again. The '60s were an amazing time. You young guys don't know, but the '60s, in 1964, '65, Hanna-Barbera comes out. So we got cartoons, new characters created just for my generation. I was born right at the right time.
Rachel, gosh, I didn't know you were. I mean, I didn't know you were that much older than me.
I'm very elderly. I should be in bed. I'm staying up late for you. 17.
So you were very young during a very tumultuous time in American history.
Yes.
You know, how did that shape your sort of, I guess, outlook, or just shape you as a person?
Yes,
You know,
Very. I'll tell you right now. I'm a conservative type person. I was a big trust in government, and my dad was an RCMP officer. So in Canada, the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, think Dudley Do Right, but think Dudley Do Right working for the FBI, because that's what they are. The RCMP is our version of the FBI. They are the feds, and so their authority crosses provincial. You guys have states. We have provinces. But I remember watching the Vietnam War over dinner. You know, we'd have the dinner, the little black and white TV would be behind us, and the war would be on. And you'd have Peter Jennings, and who's a Canadian, but he ended up doing well down in the States. And you'd have guys like that down, doing broadcasting news. Walter Cronkite was our guy. We had one face for news. It was Walter Cronkite. And I was influenced very much. I'm that television generation guy. So I watched television programs from the Pacific Northwest. So I grew up with Brakeman Bill. And only people in the Seattle area where Otaku, I understand you're living, would understand who Brakeman Bill is. And you got to also be in Seattle of a certain generation to know who Brakeman Bill
is. I don't know who that is.
JP Patches came in later.
I've heard of JP Patches, yes. Yeah.
JP Patch, another Pacific Northwest guy. So I was raised on, KVUS 12 Bellingham. And then we had Cairo later by the time 70 showed up, now we got Cairo. Now we got King. Now we got Como, King 5, Como 4, Cairo 7, right? These are the Seattle stations. So we all know them up here. And of course, the PBS station was the Seattle PBS. Other provinces, as you move towards the east, those provinces would be picking up PBS Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
So a real product of my generation. Of course, we're all raised on American television. So Star Trek comes in, F Troop comes in, I Dream of Jeannie, Bewitched, The Munsters, The Addams Family, all these great shows that were
classic shows,
geared for kids. Get Smart. God, I'm missing a million of them. But
I love Get Smart.
So I'm a product of all that, a real product. One of the guys I've recently discovered is Dana Gould. Dana Gould has a comedy thing. I just found him on YouTube. I started laughing my head off because he's dressed up like Dr. Zaius from Planet of the Apes, a film I saw at an outdoor theater in 1968 when I was 10 years old. I saw the original Planet of the Apes in '68.
You watched it in drive-in theater?
Yeah, I went to a drive-in theater with the
best.
Phones, you hang them on the window.
Nothing better in the summertime than going to a nice
It was a summer event. We were up late, and I was a kid, and I was allowed to watch it. So this is all my generation, right? Science fiction and The Outer Limits and combat with
Twilight Zone.
Twilight
Yeah.
Zone,
Twilight
absolutely
Zone.
Twilight Zone. A lot of that stuff scared the heck out of me
Yeah.
because I was a little kid, right? I'm watching this stuff and I'm going, wow, this is freaky and scary and creepy. And, Billy Mummy causing trouble. Lost in
Hey,
Wolverine, Canada represent. So,
Yeah.
Wolverine. This is a funny thing, guys, when we talk about comic books. Wolverine, this incredible character, Len Wein, going out there, coming up, got the Wolverine, and then they go, oh, we'll make him a Canadian. And then he becomes like the biggest character in Marvel. It's like the flagship character.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Even rivaling even Peter Parker from Forest Hill in Queens, New York. And of course, if you know people from Queens, like Spidey would actually have a little bit of an accent, which
Yeah.
you never think of that as a kid reading the text of it, with Stan Lee and stuff. But
yeah, but you got the Peter Pan played by British guy and Wolverine played by Australian guy.
yeah, Australian with what's his name, Jackson, Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine. It really made the character his own. But then Ryan Reynolds, a Canadian, playing frickin' Deadpool, which is amazing character. Probably the best out of all that. Yeah, Night Gallery. I remember watching Night Gallery.
Oh yeah.
Hell out of me. Rod Serling's Night Gallery.
Night
So-
Gallery.
That should give your viewers an idea that they're looking at even though I'm Canadian, but we're raised on it. You got to understand the powerful cultural juggernaut south of the border. You guys are with the culture with rock and roll and guitars and convertibles and all that you brought, we all absorbed up here in Canada. Every Canadian knows this stuff, So, and so many of us went down to Hollywood. So Mary Pickford, America's sweetheart, Toronto-born Canadian girl, Cheech and Chong, Tommy Chong, Vancouver, Canada, Cheech and Chong, the Mamas and the Papas, Denny Doherty from Nova Scotia, Mamas and
Wow.
Papas from
Yeah.
California. You've got God, there's so many different Neil Young, Joni Mitchell coming down into California, influencing the sound there. So a lot of Canadian kind of actors. It's not. Metro Goldwyn Mayer, Louis B. Goldwyn. It's either or Louis B. Mayer. Louis B. Mayer from
Yeah.
Newfoundland in Canada. It wasn't Canada then, but it was a territory that we had. And then he moves to Hollywood too. So a lot of Glenn Ford, the great Glenn Ford, the American hero, Glenn Ford, Canadian
Wow.
born.
I didn't know he was Canadian. Oh, Canadian born. Okay.
Well, and raised. I mean, then he comes down to the States. He's like 9 or something when he comes to America, right?
Interesting.
Other ones like William Shatner, the captain of the Starship Enterprise, Canadian. Scotty Ewan, who's running the engineering department, Canadian. So, we're us Canadians, because we do have a bit of an insecurity problem when it comes to America, just because of the sheer force of what the nation is and stuff. And so a lot of my values, even though the Vietnam War was happening, the 60s were a time of real hope. There was a race to the moon, right? There was that hope, and everything was bright and colorful. Color TV comes in at that time.
TV dinner.
Yeah, TV dinners coming. But it would be Kolchak, Night Stalker, 1972. Fantastic series with the guy. He's in, I love the actor in that because he's in A Christmas Story. You'll shoot your eye out with that.
Yeah.
I can't think of the actor. He's gone now, unfortunately, but tremendous actor that played Kolchak, the Night Stalker. Anyway, so yeah, I'm raised on that, but there was tremendous optimism. There's tremendous hope for a better future. And despite the troubles in the world, that hope and that optimism I really embraced. So when Star Trek came on, they knew what to do. Okay, it's a black and white show. Now we've got, Star Trek, Desilu production in color. What are we going to do? Well, let's get blue for the science, red for the security people, and gold for the personnel in the cabin, Captain Kirk, the officers, right? And Sulu and Chekhov there. And so you see these great, bright, cheerful colors on your television, right? Amazing. The Invaders.
Oh yeah.
You shoot the alien, you didn't know his name, but you shoot it and it would glow red. and then disappeared. Darren McGavin. Thank you, Star Trekker. Darren McGavin. So yeah, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, a Quinn Martin production, or Irwin Allen, Irwin Allen. You know,
Yeah,
I love all this stuff.
now that you bring it up, it's you do mention some really really interesting points. Like it was really a glorious time for television, with all that you mentioned there. So let's delve into your passion for music.
Okay.
You mentioned you've got an extensive collection. Can you just talk about some of your favorite bands, your favorite records?
Yeah. Okay. So number one, Beatles. They're the ones I really collect. Like I go out, I've got multiple copies. Like when you get into music, things break down. So there's the Americans had their own line of albums. So I would have brought all this stuff and dragged out, give you an idea. A picture tells 1,000 stories. But America had an album called Meet the Beatles. Meet the Beatles. The first one, the black background with the faces there. John Paul Jones, Meet the Beatles. In England, it was released as With the Beatles. And in Canada, it was released as Beatlemania with the Beatles, and a little bit of writing on the thing. Essentially the same album, but delivered in 3 different flavors for each country. And in terms of the marketing of the Beatles, it would be like if they were trying to sell something in Italy, they're all sipping on champagne glasses, looking awfully Italian themselves, to try and market. And my God, if they could have gotten them looking Japanese when they're trying to sell to Japan, they would have. But they kind of come close. If you watch what they do with the covers and everything, is rather interesting to try and make them accessible to everything. But yeah, it was a time of American bandstands.
What about your favorite Beatle character? John McCartney, or
Paul McCartney.
John
Lennon.
I love
Paul McCartney, or
it goes John, Paul, George, and Ringo in that order for me.
John is the first one.
John is always has been. Never was it without, because I liked his snide humor. I liked the way that he called things. Even if he was wrong, it's okay. At least he was sincere. At least he was passionate about it. So I respect that, and so I love that. I love that about him. And he was funny and charming. He could be very charming. He was flawed human, but everybody's flawed. If you're perfect, well, we call you Jesus or Buddha.
Did you like Yoko?
I never was a fan. I don't like her music. I respect her music. I don't like it because it's like, I'm like, okay.
No, I was asking for, this because she sort of interrupted their relationship a little bit.
No, for me, here's my take on the breakup of the Beatles and Yoko's role. These guys were living in hotels. They couldn't go anywhere. By 1966, they're done. August 29th, Candlestick Park, San Francisco. They're done. We're off. We're finished. We're not going out ever again. And then they go in. TM Nerdy, is this video on private? Interesting.
No. we did it to him. We did it to him.
So,
oh, by the way, TM is your fellow Canadian too, by the way.
Hi there, Canadian Nerdy. So anyway, the Beatles are growing up, right? These guys are 21, 20 years old, right? You got to think they're born. John and Ringo were born in 1940.
Eddie.
Paul's born in 42. Ringo's born in Ringo 40. George Harrison 1943. Ed Sullivan is 1964. So George Harrison is like 23 years old, or he's like 43. He's 20. He's 20 years old when he appears on Ed Sullivan. He turns 21 like a couple of weeks after he's on the Ed Sullivan. He turned 21.
They were so young. People don't realize, they were so young.
So when they break up in 1970, they're in there starting to get into their 30s when they're living their life what we do when we're 20. When we're 20, 21, we're saying, maybe I should get married. My friends seem to be getting married. It doesn't happen anymore. I got a 32-year-old son. I doubt if he'll ever get married. But in my generation, you're young like that. Everybody's looking around to get married and settle down and, live the good life to the extent you're able to do it.
Yeah. No, the Beatles are such a an intriguing. I mean, outside of their music, even they have such an interesting history, and there's so much.
Because it's everywhere. So there's movies. There's Hard Day's Night. There's Help with Tavis. We love Tavis. Tavis. Vinyl Talk with Tavis, another one of our vinyl people. But so it's the Beatles. Then I'm getting older. I do, I'm doing Sgt. Pepper and stuff. I'm getting around 16. Joints are starting to float around, so do you want to try, because I got scared straight from heroin and pills and stuff. They used to have school, so like you're 8 years old, it's 10 years old, I guess. 68, it'd be about 68, 69, I'm 10, 11, and they're showing people taking drugs, turning into monsters and shit. And I'm 11, it's scaring the hell out of me. I go, oh my God, if I take this will happen. And so drugs are no good. But pot, I said, okay, this a little bit, okay. And so that worked great with the Beatles. But then I got into Yes. Favorite band of all time, the Beatles. Second favorite band is Yes.
Yes.
More complex music, longer songs, very complex musical arrangements, but still melodic and with hooks in it, catching the voice of John Anderson. So I fell in love with Yes. So
yes. Wow.
And then in third place, Led Zeppelin, the mighty Led Zeppelin. So you just rock. Alice Cooper does a line in the song Teenage Lament, 1974. Okay. 1974, I'm really old now. I'm 16. So there's a line that says, I ran into my room and fell down on my knees. I thought that 15 was going to be a breeze, right? But it's not, He said, Mom and Dad are fighting. They fight all night about his private secretary. Do-up. So you got this Teenage Lament. You're angry. You have no power. You're absolutely powerless. I love the film Napoleon Dynamite. So you got the story Napoleon Dynamite. It starts off with him dragging a little plastic toy out of a bus. Who does that? Who does that? A kid does that. That's kid stuff. What are you doing? I got a string. I got a little army man, and I'm putting him, Stretch Armstrong, whatever the hell it is, tying it up, and he's dragging along the bus because it amuses him. He's a kid. All right.
Richard's fan of Beatles.
I like Dress to Kill, Hotter Than Hell. Those are my Kiss albums. All right.
Nice.
Reefer Madness is 1933. a little before our time. So you see Napoleon Dynamite. It starts off right. He's a kid, but he has no power. A guy pushes him up against the locker in the school. And the guy walks and goes, yeah, right, pushes Napoleon. The guy walks like 10 yards away. Then Napoleon swings and kicks at him. When he's safely out, he has no power. Things happen to Napoleon the whole show. Grandma called. She says she's coming home. She wants you out of here. I don't think Grandma called at all, Napoleon. Uncle Rico there, if you know the film. So this poor kid has no power. Just say it's pretty serious. Talk about 4 hours a night. That cost a bit. Yeah, Grandma gets a little ticked off. I bet she does. I bet she does. So it's these kids with no power, but the change comes. Do I have to analyze Napoleon for you kids? So the change comes when Napoleon does his dance. Suddenly, Napoleon's taking charge. Napoleon is dictating to the world. People are looking. Even the cool kids are going, not bad. This ain't bad. He's doing the dance. And at that point, then the music changed. A Song for a Lost Harmonium with the bicycle. And things change around at that point so this is kids. Powerlessness. So what's power, right? Well, power is this guy. Yeah. So I'm a kid. Why do I like frickin' comic books? Because Ben Grimm is out there, the ever-loving baby blue-eyed nephew of his dear Aunt Petunia. The Yancey Street Gang. And so comic books were huge for me that way, guys, because it gave power. You're a powerless kid, but here you're reading your comic books. Flame on. Holy shit, the guy can fly. I'll melt that thing. Yeah. I'll just melt the hell out of that. Normally I swear on my show I'd be F-bombs.
Oh, go ahead, go crazy.
That far,
No
right?
problem here either. No problem here either. Right
Yeah,
there.
and so the power of the Hulk. I love that big splash page Jack Kirby draws when Thor takes on Hercules. Now Thor had half his power drained by Odin, which is always happening with Thor, and there's daddy issues. So there's Thor, and there's that great frickin' fist that Jack Kirby draws on Thor. Wham! Across the jaw, Hercules. You go, yeah, Thor. And I got to tell you guys now, Team Thor, Team Hulk, Team Thor, 100%, all in, all the way. He's a god for the love of God. Does that make sense? And so they create him. Stan creates him with the idea we got this radioactive Hulk from the 50s tearing everything up, radioactive gamma radiation.
Yeah.
The strongest thing is Hulk pretty mad. Hulk getting upset.
Yeah.
So Hulk's going to Hulk smash. But then this god figure from Norse mythology with Mighty Mjolnir. Unbelievable. Unbelievable for a kid to see that kind of power. Or John Buscema dropping the cover to Silver Surfer #4, which I bought for a good 25 cents. That was my allowance in 1968, the year that came out. That's a whole week's allowance on one book. It better be good if I'm going to drop that. But that Bifrost is there. You got Thor leaning back. You got the Surfer coming in.
Yeah,
that's a classic. That's a classic.
Do you have that one?
I don't have it. No, you know what? Here's the thing. Now here it's all part of being a kid. I had Silver Surfer #1, 2, 3, 4. I had them all. I had and then I missed a couple, and then because I'm a kid, right? Every nickel I'm fighting for. And then you're so poor as a teenager. Some kids go, "I got $20. I'll buy your comics off you." $20. Yeah, I'm all in. Take me. So that would be the thing. I was raised on because of Batman. I watched Batman, the cartoons. Fantastic Four got their own cartoon, 67. You got Spider-Man, also voiced acted by a whole bunch of Canadians. So when you hear the voice of Peter Parker and Parker, Peter Parker, get in here. You know, you got J.J. Jonah Jameson. Those guys are all Canadian actors that are doing the voice out of Toronto. They're out of Ontario anyway. So you're getting this cartoon stuff. Now you're watching Batman, which was fun and great and exciting. But then the Green Hornet came, which was cooler, and you knew it. You're 8 years old and you go, I think the Green Hornet's cooler because it's got with the Black Beauty and the green, and it was darker, so you knew it was kind of more serious.
Yeah.
And Robin going, holy, Catwoman, you felonious feline, and he's going, gosh, Bruce, how can I have a cookie, Aunt Harriet? Well, Dick, you've got to watch, you won't have an appetite. So you're watching all this Batman stuff, right? And then I'm watching cartoons in '67. The Fantastic Four are on the air. I'm not reading the comics. I'm reading Batman. I'm collecting Batman, Superman. Oh, look at Lois. She's a big wasp. It's Lois's head. She's got a wasp. She's a giant wasp. Oh my God, Lana Lang is also a giant wasp with a Lana Lang head. Oh my God, this is horrible. So you're going, poor girls, right? So I'm reading that and holy cow and wow, Bruce, and all this stuff, And then I'm watching the cartoonies, having my Fruit Loops. We'd get all the American cereals except for Trix. Couldn't get them. No Trix. Silly rabbit. Silly Canadian Trix are for American kids. We couldn't get them. So we could get Captain Crunch, and we could get they're magically delicious, Lucky Charms.
Oh, wow, that's great, Tony the Great.
Yeah, we could do that with Tony the Tiger. They're great. We got all that, but we couldn't get Tricks. I want them so bad. I was finally like 40 when I'm way past the time where you want them, but I saw them in the supermarket. I said, oh God, they're finally here. All right, I'm going to buy a damn box. because I was denied as that little child. Because you watch them, you get the commercials, right? So I'm watching the Fantastic Four comic book, and it's the classic series, part triple threat, Fantastic Four meet Galactus. Silver Surfer is introduced.
Oh,
so
yeah.
And so Galactus comes. The Devourer of Worlds comes in.
Yeah.
What? Joker? Have a pie in the face, Cape Crusader. And so there's that. But now you've got the Devourer of Worlds, and you're going, what? And I'm like 8.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's Galactus. He has come to drain the very life force of your planet. And then they get rid of Alicia Masters because they don't want to draw her in. So they just do away with her and put all her lines and everything on Sue Storm. So she meets the Silver Surfer. Oh, you dear boy, you misunderstood, misanthrope. And so he goes, I'm a noble space wanderer. I have seen the error of my ways. You have taught me that there is something good about this. And then the Human Torch is sent on a mission by who? The frickin' Watcher. I will not interfere in your earthly troubles. So you got this frickin' Watcher, dude, and you're going, holy crap, it's Watcher. The Watcher, the Devourer of Worlds, and then they go, how are we going to beat this frickin'? Your weapons are like ants. It's like a repellent. You're merely bugs to Galactus. So then they go, well, how are we going to take them down? There's one thing that will do it. You must seek the ultimate nullifier. The ultimate nullifier? Are you kidding me? The torch goes flying through. Be careful, because you'll be lost to infinity if you touch one of the ribs of space-time continuum. You're going, holy shit! You're 8 years old.
You should have told Stan, hey Stan, you had me at Thor.
Yeah, you had me at Thor with just boom, big fist. But this stuff was otherworldly. And so at that age, let's see, that's 67. So I'm like 11. I made the switch from DC to Marvel. So I became almost exclusively Marvel, but I'd still dabble. I remember the little Archies. Those were the small one you could get. Little Archie. There's Archie Andrews, but the little Archie.
Yeah.
So I got Archie. I read, Betty and Veronica and Jughead and the whole Riverdale gang and all that stuff. And, Little Hot Stuff, Little Richie Rich. I'd get a few of those, but the main thrust of the collecting was reserved for, number one, Fantastic Four, the world's greatest comic book. I also like dabble. Are you saying drabble or dabble? Drabble, that's funny. No, I'm teasing. So anyway, the Fantastic Four, number one, Spider-Man. Number three would have been Thor, and then the Avengers, the original Avengers. But I read them all, but those were my favorites, and I collected them. So I collected Thor, and I was collecting Thor, like 19. And the only ones I really have first issues that are from the period are like this. Remember when he goes up against Torgo? This motif has been used in movie after science fiction. In fact, I have the Justice League in my collection, like on DVD, like the cartoons. Like I'm the world's biggest teenager is my problem. And so I've got like stuff like this is great, by the way. I like the anime and I like Ghibli Studios.
Oh, yeah.
Story about the Japanese Zero. I wrote a book called Warbirds, The Story So Far. I published in Australia a long time ago. But Batman anime series, incredible stuff. But here's Justice League on DVD. I like to get them on Blu-ray. This one,
Nice.
No, animation-wise, DC is killing it, though.
Yeah, DC's doing great.
Yeah.
So on there's a scene where it's just like this line from the old Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
where you've got Superman, or who the heck was it? I forget who the character was, but it's in Justice League, and they're in the same scenario. They're fighting the super guy. Yeah, I think it's Superman. He's trapped on the planet, and eventually he breaks free. But for a while, he's chained and under control, and he has to combat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was done decades earlier in the 60s in the Fantastic Four. But it was the characters and the stuff they were up against. I just loved it. But the demonstration of power and the artwork of Jack Kirby. My favorite artist, Jack Kirby. followed by John Buscema, but I like Gene Colan. And when Neil Adams came in, when he started doing his riff on X-Men and also on Avengers, Neil Adams stuff was just mind-altering. You just go, holy crap, is that guy good? And so these were some of my favorite stuff. I did not like Barry Windsor Smith because when he first started out, he's like a guy trying to do Jack Kirby, but can't do it as good as Jack. So you're going, this is no good. Jack Kirby is the king of comics, of course, co-creator Captain America, co-creator of the Fantastic Four. And I'm glad that people like Bill Finger, who co-created Batman, these unsung heroes are getting their credit. I'll tell you something else about comic books too, because I don't want to keep you guys here all night, but there's some things I want to get out. Observations about the industry, observations that I thought were really great. Stan Lee was a master at creating community. When he created the Mary Marvel Marching Society, when Stan was writing to you in Stan's soapbox in the letter section, dear Stan and Jack, dear Stan and Gene, whoever it's going to be, it was, or Gil Kane, Sugar Lips Gil, dear Sugar Lips. Yeah. So it was so personal. You felt you knew the guys. You felt you were part of the team. And this is what the genius of Stan Lee doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, over at DC with Carmine Infantino and the gang, Kurt Swan, dear editor, whoever the fuck you are, dear unknown editor person, I love Superman. And so the personality and the personableness of Marvel, Stan Lee wrote a guideline to how to create community. So for the comic book community, you need to personalize things. We can all learn. If you're in the comic book collecting community, personalize your audience. Get to know, get to be, have fun. Do live streams like you guys are doing like this. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah.
I think the comic book community is I think they probably take on the Stan Lee's model.
Yeah.
It's very, very community oriented.
Yeah. Stan was such a good, he's just so good with audiences. He could just stand up and everybody would be drawn to what he's saying. And you're absolutely right. It's such his community. He had a focus on everybody. It was really for his readers,
Well, he's a charming guy. Even his worst critics go, he's so damn likable. But but he's such a this is the sort of thing. Oh, by the way, guys, think of other influences. Johnny Quest from Alex Toth and doing Johnny Quest, unbelievable. The Herculoids, Birdman, which later became this comedy thing from I forget the West Coast or I forget whether they call it
West Coast Avengers.
Yeah, well, no, not with it. But there's like Tales from the Coast or something where Howard B. Birdman, attorney at law, had his own talk show. They're taking all these classic 60s cartoon characters. And
did you get influenced by any Pulp Fiction like Doc Savage or
the pulps? A little bit of Conan because it's like the vinyl community. Somebody will show some cool record that you don't know. Like there's a local band from Nanaimo here where I live.
Wow.
So I could show this thing and I talk it up. And then if other people get on it, and suddenly it becomes a thing. Oh, you got to have that. Oh, if then you go, oh, I'm missing out. Oh yeah, man. If you don't get Howard,
so you're the formal influencer at vinyl community, huh?
It was like Naaman. It was like Mad Magazine, right? In cartoons, there was a lot of illustrated stuff for children that helped shape the generation I belong to. And then of course it merged with comic books. With music. So album covers had album designs that were comic book influenced.
All right, Rachel, let's get into some of your books now. I know you've set aside some stuff to show off.
Yeah, I want to actually do well. Not a whole, because how long do you guys want to be here?
Up to you, Rachel.
As long as you want to be.
I think you'd be here 20 hours. I want to show. Oh, another thing. I got to show another thing. Another influence. So I'm a kid now. I have the full size things as a kid. I've got them all like this now. So this is Hergé, the Balkan artist, and the boy detective.
Yeah.
These were like 11 by 8 size, oversized, and they would be in French because he was a Belgian artist at the public library. So I was such a nerd kid. I did sports and stuff, but I loved going to the I love going to the library with my friend. He's a German guy. He said, "You come with me. I'm going to show you something." He introduced me to Tintin. So we'd go hang out just to try and find, and they not all the issues were available. So go, when's that one? Because we could see on the back all the issues that they had, which ones we were missing, right? You're trying to, kind of like in Johnny Quest, at the end of Johnny Quest, they'd have that scene where the Africans are throwing spears and they're in the hovercraft, and you end up coming down, and you're going, holy shit, look at this. When's that episode? And then only later do you learn that it was never created. It was just a test reel to get that Toth had done to give an idea what they could do with the character.
That reminds me of those animation. What do you call those? It's not a cartoon. It's like they do it with dogs.
Oh, like
stop motion.
Stop motion. Yeah, stop motion photography. Gumby, Pokey, and Gumby stuff.
Yeah, they had one. They had a Johnny Quest looking dudes. Some kind of spaceship. I don't remember what that was.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
That was during your. It should have been during your time.
Yeah, I never saw it. I never saw it. Well, we had puppets. Like we had, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thunderbirds are go. We had the Thunderbirds, so they were incredible.
Thunderbirds.
Yeah, the acting was a little wooden. But I like the Thunderbird. So that was another thing. Throw them into the mix too. Major Matt Mason action toy figures and stuff, that we had. Billy Blastoff. That was for the little ones. But no, Johnny Quest. So at the end, that was so cool, And so some of these books, I want to show one book in particular. So what I do now is when I still buy occasionally, but I'm not hardcore collecting anymore. I go down, I find a lot at the dollar stores. A lot of these are coming out, and you can pick them up for like $5 on the stand. They're like in Canada, we pay so much for these. So I'll get the price sticker here. So you can see this is one's a little older. Come on, focus for me. Aren't these cameras? There it is. $15 in the US, $20 Canadian.
Canada.
Yeah. So $20 we'd have to pay, but I can pick them up for $5. So I grab a bunch. I like to keep my hand in the mix a bit just to know what's going on. So Jack Kirby leaves Marvel comic books in 1971. I think it's 71. And he goes over he says, what's the worst selling thing you guys got? Well, DC goes, we got Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy's where he's not selling as much. So Kirby goes over, resurrects Jimmy Olsen, takes that to the next level. They don't like the way Kirby draws Superman's face because they've got the template for trademark purposes. This brings us into Miles Morales in modern era. Like I say, I still keep my finger into I know what's going on, even at this late date, and I'm pushing. I'll be 66.
I'm collecting Bronze Age because I don't want to collect Modern Age.
Yeah, well, I know it's the whole thing. Oh yeah, Speed Racer. We had Speed Racer with Chim Chim. They were like Astro. We had Astro Boy and the White Line. Marine Boy with his aqua gum. Battle of the Planets. I love
so much good stuff. So much good stuff in the 60s.
Battle of Planets is 70s.
70s. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with the Battleship Yamato, which was the coolest thing. With that thing, that was another great series.
Classic story there.
I watched all that stuff. So 71, Kirby leaves, and then the bloom came off the rose a bit. And then 73, I'm 73 Beatles. I'm starting to move into music away from comics. And I check in on things. I pick up a Spider-Man, or I find through the movies. Yes, Mrs. Rachel's Ghost. So what happens, guys, is I find out they killed Gwen Stacy. So I go, what? I loved Gwen Stacy. I just thought Spidey and her were the best couple. And I thought, what jackass decided to kill Gwen? You mother! I was so mad. I have never forgiven them. And don't even get me started about Spider Gwen.
Uh-oh.
I'm so old-timey. I say, go get out of here. Go away with all that stuff. Now, my favorite comic issue, there's been so many. One of the great comic issues, and I don't have the number memorized because it's just coming to me right now as I'm talking about, because I have this prepared. I want to talk about an issue here. But one of the great, great issues is when Daredevil guest starred with the Fantastic Four, and we got to go back around 65, 66. It was a king-size special. Dr. Doom's causing trouble. Ben Grimm has lost his power, but he's been transformed. All the FF have lost their powers, and so they kind of figure they got extendable limbs for Mr. Fantastic to do his stretching bit. Johnny's got a little suit on that can flame up a bit, but it's a mere mockery of what they were. And then Ben's in human form, they had a robot type thing for Ben to fight. So Ben he's just himself, and he's coming after Dr. Doom at the end. And he's transformed back into Ben Grimm. And Dr. Doom is hurling insult after insult at this guy. You misshapen lump of lard. You're not, you horrific monstrosity. You shadow of a human. He's just throwing every insult that is cutting Ben to the very quick, because the guy struggles over the fact that he's been turned into a thing. He's no longer Ben Grimm, test pilot, college football hero. Now he's just this misshapen thing. And he comes up, and Ben's going against Doom, and Doom's throwing weapon after weapon after weapon at him. And he keeps coming and coming and coming. He's on the floor, and he goes, "Why don't you give up? Give up. You're done. You have nothing left." And he goes, "Maybe I'm too ugly to die." He goes, "Maybe I'm nothing, but I'm going to crush you with my bare hands." And he finally, he's got guns at him, raised burst blast, everything's at this poor guy. Grimm grabs hold of Doom, finally grabs hold of him, and just scrunches him with the strength of it's a powerful, powerful testament to the human spirit against all odds. It's as American as Mom's apple pie. It's the personification of can-do spirit. It's unbelievable. So that kind of writing is absent from comics today. It was replicated again later by Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, when Spidey's trapped under, he's fighting against Doc Ock. Doc Ock's gone. He's fighting up the water's coming down, and then he's just beaten and battered, and he lifts it up. Heroic, right. Amazing, powerful panel, the artwork depicting it. But I got one more for you. One more I want to show. And this is this is Captain America, the symbol of liberty, drawn by Jack Kirby, in my opinion, at the peak of his powers. And it's issue 107. And there it is. That's the cover. They actually, through happenstance, they replicate a whole bunch of these old-timey comics for selling at Walmart and for kids' rooms, But I've got it down in my workshop because this actual cover was chosen. Look at this splash page.
Yeah.
Of course, Kirby, his artwork was never highlighted better than inker Joe Sinnott. If you got Kirby and Sinnott working together, you got Vince Colletta, not a fan. Never was a fan of Colletta. Once you got, and even the coloring, you got Sid Shores doing the coloring.
About Jim Starlin or Franco?
Starlin?
Mm-hmm.
He did Jim Starlin did Captain Marvel, I remember.
Yeah, Captain Marvel, Warlock.
Oh, Warlock as well. Well, I know Warlock as him from Fantastic Four, 65? Anyway, so you got
yeah.
These panels are incredible. So Steve Rogers, aka Captain America: Secret Identity, is being tortured psychologically, and unbeknownst to him, a guy known as the Professor is drugging him. So Cap's kind of losing his mind, and he's having these nightmares. The guy's name is Dr. Faustus. So he's saying, man, I'm having these nightmares. He wakes up, I'm having nightmares. He goes to Dr. Faustus, I'm having trouble. This guy goes, give these pills to Steve Rogers. I want him messed up. So nobody could draw a weaselly henchman, Baron Jack Kirby. So Rogers is starting to lose his mind, right? He doesn't know what the hell's going on. And of course, he's in love with, later to become Agent 13. He sees her there, Sharon Carter. Sharon, I love you, baby. What you doing? Turns around, what the hell's wrong with you? It's not Sharon. But he sees her, he's sure it's her. Totally shaken, like Captain America making a mistake like that. So you can see he's going, what the hell's going on, right? He's shaking his head. He's going, what is happening to me? Then a cop comes up. Say, you okay, buddy? What's going on? And then Cap looks at the cop. And this is one of the greatest depictions of Red Skull you'll ever see. That is how you depict the Red Skull.
Yeah.
That is the Red Skull. So a couple of agents are dressed up like that to throw him off again, right? So they're trying to break him emotionally and psychologically. And of course, Captain America, keep in mind, this comic was being drawn around 1967 for this, 67, 68. So World War II is not that long before. 20 years earlier, the war is just 3 years over. So you got the Nazis in, working him over, World War II, just nightmares he's having. The punchline is this: Captain America forever was guilty about the death of his partner, Bucky Barnes. They're on a rocket ship, they're tied up, and kind of like a missile. And they're launched in the 40s, and then Cap manages to break loose. Bucky can't. Bucky dies. And what's the new name? What do they brought him back as? What do they call him? Bucky.
His superhero. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They resurrected the character. He's in the movies and all this stuff. The Winter Soldier. The
Winter Soldier. Yeah.
So they're trying to bust him down, right? They give him the pills. The henchman here goes, oh, he's all but done now. And he wakes up and he sees that he's all aged, like because he was frozen in time. They pick him up in Avengers 4 and resurrect him. But here he sees himself, his youth is gone. It's like that never happened.
Yeah.
Then the last psychological ploy is to bring Bucky back. Hey, Cap, we got to go into action. Just like we always did. So off on the old World War II motorcycle they go, right? And so you're reading this as a kid. Keep in mind, I'm 10 years old reading this thing. And I'm going, whoa, God,
Deep
Cap,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
I love Cap. What are they doing? And at the end, when they've got him beat and he's down and he's lost, and there's Cap. He's a defeated, broken man. He's nothing. A shell of himself, psychologically destroyed. But he bounces back, takes everybody out. And at the end, he goes, so Faustus goes, I'm almost twice your size. I can still destroy you with my bare hands. And the feds go, don't try it, Faustus.
Wow.
And Faustus goes, so the mighty Captain America needs the guns of S.H.I.E.L.D. to protect him. It's not him we're worried about, it's you. Cap doesn't like enemy agents. You're a mighty big target. So Cap looks at Faustus, gives him his shot. He goes, take off those specs, Faustus, while my friends put down their blasters. We might as well finish this right. I'll tear you apart, little man.
Yeah.
Faustus, I'll tear you apart. Cap goes, sure you will. Boom.
Yeah.
And then he walks. And it's, heartbreaking.
Oh man, that's classic stuff.
He's up there. And he goes, that one was for you, old friend, because he's dead. And they try and use the death that he's so guilty over, to break him psychologically. And it's so believable because he's got so much guilt. It's Achilles heel.
Yeah.
And so it's so well done. It's so masterful. and it transcends what I call the realm of comic book into human story, just like Ben Grimm going up against Doc Doom there. He goes, maybe I'm too ugly to die. I'm still coming, buddy. I'm going to tear you apart. Comic books have an amazing thing. So when you're a 10-year-old with no power, clean your room up. Go to bed. I'm not ready to go to bed. You're going to bed. All right, Dad.
So you never did a Jack Kirby when he went to DC? Like
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Forever People, Commandy, The Last Boy on Earth. Yeah, but I couldn't do it. I was so loyal to Marvel. I was torn.
Yeah.
Like, oh, shit. It was like mom and dad are having a divorce. And Jack was dad. Stan was mom. So I'm like, oh, shit, what do I do? I guess I'll stay with mom, because I made it was so huge a thing for me when the Ultimate Nullifier came into my life in 1967. 3 years later, a lot happens between 10 and 13. Why do I feel funny? You're getting older.
Yeah.
So a lot happens during that. So I was so
loyal. Kids that goes to, I want to sleep over with mom today. I want to sleep over with dad today.
I'd buy one or two just to kind of see what was going on. The thing is, that Ultimate Nullifier and the level of the writing was so great, the DC couldn't match it at that time. Now, of course, keeping my hand in things, by the time we get The Dark Knight in 1985 and the new X-Men that come out again around the same time. So there was a real revival in the mid 80s for this stuff.
Yeah.
But for the 70s, right at the time, and I stayed on with Buscema for a while, up to about Fantastic Four, about 120, 125. But the bloom was off. I just couldn't do it. So by 72, 73, music is starting to come in. The comic books sit on the shelf, and I sold a bunch of them. And then the new thing, I was into that. But I always kept my hand in it, and even to this day. So when the Masterworks series came out, that was because I don't want to pay $40 a comic anymore. I'm not collecting comics, but I will pay, $70, $80 for one of these things. And I've got the first 10 books for Fantastic Four, first 10 Spider-Man. Captain America, I only go up to volume 3. And by that time, then I'm not interested in going past that. Yeah. And here we got Steranko's artwork, as you recognize, Jim Steranko. And then I got X-Men. I've got the first 6 issues of X-Men, the initial run, the Uncanny X-Men or whatever, before the new X-Men come into play, which was really well handled. I noticed behind you, you've got the Dark Phoenix saga there, which I read. I read all that. The Brood. In the 80s, I came back. And so I got into the Brood when they were first introduced. Starjammers.
Yeah.
Dark Phoenix saga. I was there for all that. I was right in collecting X-Men. They became my comic book at that time, because by that time I had learned about Wolverine, what had happened with Wolverine and the Hulk, going, oh, this new character, he's Canadian. Yeah. Alpha Flight, which John Byrne was never into. He created it. John Byrne's an interesting guy. If people call your audience comic book, they'll know who he is.
Yeah, I know John.
Byrne's huge. So Byrne starts out in England. He's an English guy. But he comes to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, where he lives for a while. He comes to Victoria, British Columbia, my hometown, 1974. I happen to be there because I buy Beatle records, and there was a record shop, but it was also a comic book shop. I'm in there, John Byrne's in there, and he's drawing Iron Fist. So I go to him. The comic book owner goes, this is John Byrne. Do I want to show that, Naaman, and then I'll continue? I don't like seeing the poor guy holding something, but yeah, isn't that amazing?
If you gotta have a Galactus book. You gotta have this book.
Wow, that looks so good. Yeah.
What is that?
Huh?
What
He's
is
got
that?
Galactus, the Silver Surfer, and the Fantastic.
Oh, it's a poster.
No, it's a book.
Oh wow.
So it's like It's like all the books that
Is it a
Kirby.
reimagining of the
no, it's
original
actual
story?
old reprints of Fantastic Four.
Nice. Wow. Why is it
Oh,
so
okay,
big
yeah,
though?
yeah.
It's huge.
Oh, collector's item, right? Just make a
Huh?
collector's item. Yeah, that's
Awesome.
gorgeous.
Yeah, so it's a it collects a whole bunch of Fantastic Four from
Yeah,
Jack Kirby issues. So all the Galactus ones where
yeah,
Galactus comes.
Yeah, it's Kirby was just so Kirby and Stan were just so integral in bringing in essentially all the characters we love at Marvel to life. And so, yeah, I mean, and then Kirby goes over to DC,
there
and
you go.
there's so much at DC as well.
I'll put it back.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he did. He helped DC out a great deal when he went over creating Dark Side. I mean, that alone, he took them out of their the kind of gangsters they were fighting, and then took them into the cosmic realm too with his
That's right.
Sword world. So
Hmm.
huge step. And even Mr. Miracle, which is a great character, Miracle Man. I
Yep.
forget Mr.
Miracle
Miracle.
Man. Mhm.
And that's, of course, Big Barda's husband, Scott. I forget his last name. Again, I'm more Marvel. But I know who these characters are, and I know what he's doing. And that the character, Mr. Miracle, was based on Jim Steranko, the artist, writer.
Oh,
Because,
you like Jim Franco?
yeah, Jim Steranko was actually an escape artist, did that as a living for a
Is
while.
that
I
right?
met him at the comic show last year.
Oh yeah, Steranko's bigger than life. I follow him on Instagram. He's like a conservative politically, which I am, so we get along famously that way. But anyway, Steranko was amazing. Steranko's a guy that had a lot of cachet when he came in. So when he came in, started drawing Captain America, Nick Fury, Agent of Shield. When he was doing those seemingly acid-inspired art style, that
Yeah.
was there was something very cool, very modern, very forward looking about that. When Neil Adams came in and his pencils, his work on X-Men and the Avengers were absolutely world expanding. But Buscema, never having a real love for comic book medium, he's an advertising guy, advertising artist, commercial artist. It was more of a job for him. Some guys have the real love for the medium. I think Kirby had a natural love for it, and his prodigious output was something everybody talks about to this day. But anyway, I'll just go back quickly to my story because a couple of comic book items there people may find interesting. So I've got John Byrne, a young John Byrne, before he's big. They give him this first assignment, and the assignment's Iron Fist. So I go, who you drawing? I go, I've got this character. I got to draw Iron Fist. So that's the title I'm on right now. I'm drawing it for the store owner guy here. I go, oh, cool. I go, so what are you sketching? Where, there's a small group. There's only about 3 of us there. Well, Byrne's there. I go, I'm like 16. I guess I'd be 74. Yeah, I'm 16, 17. Yeah, 16. And I go, who's the easiest character to draw? He goes, oh, that's easy. Spider-Man. Spidey's easy. Just circle, you do it, it's quick and easy. I go, who's the hardest character to draw? Byrne goes, Thor. I go, why Thor? He goes, oh, he's got that helmet, he's got the cape, he's got there's so much stuff, got the hammer. There's so much you have to do when you're drawing Thor. And so then in later iterations of the character, through the whole thing, and we can go through the whole Jane Foster saga and all that. None of that I'm happy about. Do you guys know what Comicsgate is? Have you heard about that?
No.
Okay, well,
Was
you
it?
don't.
Was it? Okay.
Comicsgate is just a reactionary thing against mainstream comic books by artists themselves, people in the industry that don't like what they're doing with the characters. Thor, we're going to reimagine Thor with Jane Foster. Like being a nurse isn't good enough for Jane.
I see.
Got to be a doctor. So a lot of social engineering goes into a lot of identity politics. So it's a reimagining of the traditional characters. Now, there is a very rational financial rationale behind all this on some level, partially. Like Miles Morales, the whole thing, why they call him Miles Morales, they don't call him Spider-Man. Spider-Man's copyrighted. So they know that it's going to fall back into the artist's hands. They're going to lose the copyright on all these classic characters as the years go by. Mickey Mouse, the original Steamboat Willie, just went into public domain, right? Not the 1940s Sorcerer's Apprentice Mickey Mouse, but the original.
Yeah, Steamboat Willie will
become public domain stuff. And Winnie the Pooh, that's why they did that Winnie the Pooh movie where he's a bloodthirsty, cannibal or whatever the hell they did to it. They were able to do that because the copyright on the character had come in public domain. Anybody can write it and do anything about it. So Miles Morales is a particular new creation. They're trying to make him distinct and separate from Spider-Man. So when they lose control of Spider-Man, they're Marvel is hoping they could do. Because I don't know if you guys follow comic book sales or what's happening in the industry and all that, and the diversification of your comic book store. So when in the old days, in the 70s, before you were really getting direct sales set up, my comic book store, local drugstore, in the rack, you spin it around the carousel, pick out your couple of your comics, because that's all you can afford. 2 12-cent comic books, 24 cents, 1 bubble gum.
Good old days.
There goes my quarter,
I used to trade in pop bottles.
Yeah, you do.
I would buy the pop bottles in, and then I would buy 3 or 4 comic books with the pop bottles.
Well, that's very enterprising. The trick was to try and get pop bottles.
Yeah, we could recycle aluminum cans and get like 25 cents. And we'd just blow that on candy.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, and the corner store. So, but there were no direct, there wasn't like a place called Amazing Comics where you go in and there's a wall of Funko Pops and there's, the figures, the action figures you can buy. It was just comic books. A guy behind the counter with a cigar. You want a comic book, kid? Yeah, I can have it, And that was like in the 70s. But then they got, hardwood floors. You go in, they're all polished. They've got the racks. Like, oh, Jesus, where am I? Barnes and Noble? This is a comic book store. Welcome. And they've got all the magazines.
I think it's going to go back that way. I mean, it's going to go back. I mean, honestly, throughout until the COVID years, I haven't seen comic book store owners succeeding in business.
Well, that was a problem. My bias, and it's just my opinion, just my bias, but I think a lot of the new comics are not selling because they're failing to resonate, because you no longer have Ben Grimm crawling with every last inch of strength to get there. Maybe I'm too ugly to die. And you don't have this one's for you, old friend. Boom. Sure you will. Sure you will. I'll tear you apart with my bare hands. Sure you will.
Right.
That is cool frickin' writing. Stanley once said, I write these things for an 18-year-old market. I actually read, even though I got 8-year-olds reading them, I'm actually writing them for an 18-year-old market, for college kids.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. Doctor Strange had that cachet with Steve Ditko. College kids were into Doctor Strange. A little elevated the writing, the concepts, multiple dimensions, all this sort of stuff. Highfalutin stuff for.
But shouldn't they be writing for present 18-year-old kids?
Should they be writing for 18-year-old kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So
let the kids, because an 8-year-old doesn't know what an ultimate nullifier is. An 8-year-old may read the word puny as punny, which is what I used to do. P-U-N-Y. Get your punny, your power, your punny powers. So no, and you can write for an 18-year-old and still have it resonate for an 8-year-old, because you're still dealing with concepts of power, dynamics of power, good versus evil.
Yeah.
And I love the idea, white hat, black hat, good, bad, a simple world. Comic books were nice that way for that. Thor's all good. Uh-oh, Mephisto, pretty bad guy. That Mephisto. There are the more morally neutral characters like Galactus. You're going to kill 1 billion people. Yes, but Galactus must consume or I die and Galactus must live. This kind of thing. So you kind of make it, oh, okay, he's not as bad as you make out. Or even Victor Von Doom is a little messed up, from various problems that he may have. So I
Ultron,
like
all those,
resonates. Go ahead, Naman.
about all those Ultron that has no souls. They have no. They're just programs.
Well, I mean, like in terms of for modern audiences, when you politicize everything, I mean, I've looked at comic books. Instead of having MODOK from AIM creates MODOK, they got fucking Trump's head on MODOK. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you that twisted? Fuck off with that. Excuse my French. But I think you're alienating a whole bunch of your audience as soon as you do that. As soon as you do that shit. In the old days, in the 60s and stuff, they always treated whatever the character was, whether it was Gerald Ford or Jimmy Carter in the 70s, in the 60s, if they were trying to do Lyndon Johnson or Richard Nixon, they always treated those figures with respect, because that kind of bullshit is for the real world politics. When we're in our fantasy world of politics, we want to leave this shit alone. Or let's fuck over Captain America. Let's make Captain America a fucking Nazi, because that's what patriots are. Those patriots are Nazis now. Are you kidding me? Clean your act up. There's something twisted, something very twisted about that. And that retroactive, because in comic books, of course, nobody ever stays dead. Maybe sometimes they should leave them dead,
Captain Marvel say that.
It's too tempting in the medium to resurrect and to play politics with these things. And if you let it, it's a stronger story. I showed the Captain America story with Bucky. That story only resonates because Bucky Barnes is dead. Now, admittedly, the Winter Soldier is kind of a cool character, and there's some elements about that are really great. That they turned him, and Cap had to fight him initially. But ultimately, I think the torture, the strength of the classic Marvel was Peter Parker, who had his frail aunt, who he worried that she'd find his identity. He was always worried about protecting her, and she was an Achilles heel for him. Dr. Rock shows up in an episode in the 60s.
Yeah.
Hello, Mrs. Parker. I'm here to
kidnap you.
the room, and Peter's there. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Doc Ock's in there,
That varies in May.
Yeah.
To
To get to Peter, right?
Yeah. So there's good writing, there's bad writing. I think certain things can be done at a level that unifies us all as people, that with common values, and it's getting harder and harder to find those common values. And that's a very sad thing. I think we as a people collectively, because those stories could resonate with a kid in Canada as much as they would have resonated with any American kid. Captain America was the good guy. America was good, but when they break all these things down, then why even read it? Why even go in there? Oh, I'll just watch the news instead, because you're just doing the same thing. I'll watch The View shit on Trump, and rather than you guys do it. They do it even better.
It's so American politics is very divisive.
Yeah.
What's it like in Canada? Because Canada has a very different. Your health system's better. You deal with less, I think, of the less crime. I'm just making an assumption, but there's probably less crime, less of the social issues that we have.
Yeah, we're not morally superior, so that's just a numbers game. If you where do we? I don't even know what our population. We've got the same problem with the borders going in, newcomers. My eyes woke up like 1983. 1983, I'm watching my TV on Vancouver. I remember the year. 83, I'm watching my TV, and they got cops in Vancouver. All their guns are drawn. They've got about 18 kids face down, Korean gangs or Vietnamese gangs or Asian gangs. And I'd never seen that before, but there was an influx. I think it was Vietnam. Yeah, it would have been the boat people that come over. It's not a race thing. The Irish did it. The Italians did it. It's just newcomers that don't have anything. What are you going to do when you're in this new world situation? Oh, you can't get a job. I don't speak the language. Okay, well, what am I going to do? I still got to eat. I still got to get this. And so crime always goes up. Canada's just as divided as America is. What's happening south of the border is reflected here to a lesser extent with different characters. But all our right-wing politicians, our left-wing media, the same media, are all happy. Our media loves your media. They're the same gang. Mm-hmm. Hey, welcome. How are you? Friends. So we had this problem in Canada with Truckers Convoy. It was just ruled federally that it was unlawful for them to call the War Measures Act on these people, these truckers, because they protested the idea of if you don't get a certain medical procedure, you can't hold your job. You're going to be fired. We're going to have to let you go unless you have this procedure. They objected. So you can't mandate that for us to do our job. First of all, we're driving long hours by ourselves, all alone, in our trucks, across the vast prairies of the Canadian winters. So we aren't seeing anybody in. We come in, we'll drop, and then we go. But the government, then they went and they were in Ottawa. They blockaded. The people say, oh, they shut down everything. They created lanes where the emergency vehicles come through. The Canadian government went with a sledgehammer to mandate and said, you guys, they froze people's bank accounts.
Oh, man.
So people on the left were by and large happy because the media was saying, yeah, these people are really bad. They deserve it. And just like with American politics, and I'll even use somebody I disagree with politically, but Nancy Pelosi talks about it negatively against the Republicans, for example. She says there's a thing called the wrap-up smear. Wrap-up smear goes like this. Hey, Otaku, guess what? I've heard that Naaman is buying up all the Superman comic books in every store so nobody can get them. Then he's reselling them himself through his webpage, and it's not fair. And so if you go looking for Superman, you find Naaman's done it. Now, the story's bullshit. I just made it up. But I've just fed that to you. You're the news. So think about it. Sources close to Naaman are reporting that he stole and keeping all the comics and you can't get them. Our sources say. So then you now go to Naaman. Go, Naaman, we understand that you were, hang on. Yeah, got to make sure got it. So Naaman, we understand that you're still in all these, you've got all the Superman. And he goes, well, that's not true. You go, where'd you hear that? Well, our source, we heard it from our sources. So then that comes up, that picks up thing. Then they go to a third or a fourth party and they go, hey, have you heard about, what do you think about the comic books and all that? He says, well, that Naaman's stolen all these comic books, or he's got the market corner, he's done all this, bought them all out. The guy goes, damaging if true. And so now it's called the wrap-up smear.
Yeah.
You plant the story. It's broadcast by the media. They come back to you. Now you come back to me as a media person from another NBC or something. Say you're CBS, I feed it to you. Now NBC comes going. I said, listen, I can't tell you. I don't know what's going on. All I can tell you is what I read in the papers like everyone else.
Yeah, they make it an issue when it's
damaging if true.
Yeah.
So you create a false narrative that goes out and it's widely believed and broadcast, and then the lie becomes the truth until years later. And this is the other thing with legal things. So if I go, oh, hey, did you hear Otaku tried to attack me? He's a tranny tracer. He likes trannies. So then, so you go, what? This isn't true. This is garbage. Well, I'm suing you. You're going to have to. So now, 2 years later, and 2 years after fact, after it's been in the papers every day, hear about Otaku, he raped or attacked the poor tranny. And then they go, yeah, I heard that. Well, oh my God, I guess he's in trouble. And in recent developments, and for 2 years we're in this, and finally they go, "Oh, it wasn't true. It turns out it never happened. But it took you 2 years to clear your name. Meanwhile, it got all this soiled garbage."
Yeah.
So this is how where we find ourselves in 2024. A lot of this is occurring. It's very unfortunate, and you can do it without mentioning even the names of Trump and Pelosi or Biden or any of these sort of things. But in Canada, it's the same thing. There are powerful interests. It seems that people are further and further removed from having a real say. Anything that happens is a case where we kind of go, just kick my ass. So we're being taxed more. Why? Well, because we need a carbon tax to save the planet. Oh, okay. Yeah, we need to tax you. And we got to tax you enough so you give up your fossil fuels, recognize it's hurting the planet. It's for the good of the planet. So we have a whole new morality that you, as a human, are subsumed to a higher moral cause, which is the good of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes on and on. I mean, ad nauseum. And that's not why we're here. But just to answer the question. So what you're happening with the divisive nature in America, it's equally divisive up here with people, that really the people trying to fight against vested interest, powerful financial and political powers that are dictating. If they take if you had even given money to one of these truckers, they were suspending some people's accounts that did that weren't even there. They just on GoFundMe had sent some money, but they tracked that down, and it was found to be unlawful. Wow! Oh, great! 2 years later, it's unlawful. For 2 years we've had people put in jail. All this sort of thing. It's just horrible stuff. Really, at a level we've never seen before. Mm. So comic books, if done right, can take you away from all that, give you a good story, adventure, with universal principles that we should all gather around that aren't divisive, of good versus evil. I mean, Star Trek seemed to do okay with it. In the 60s, we go, okay, yeah, those guys are good. And they evolved so that the next generation had a different sensibility,
Yeah.
It was a very political show.
Back when it debuted, a little bit. I'm thinking of the Picard season, the last season where they destroyed the Borg. I love that. It was such a great ending to that era of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch that?
I know. I don't have Netflix. I assume it was running on Netflix.
Yeah, I would recommend watching the last. It was I think it's Picard season 3.
Yeah, the first series, the first season, people went, eh. Second season, they went, ooh, good. And then I don't know about the third season.
About Paramount account?
It's on Paramount, but I think you can get them on DVD now. So if there's an opportunity for you to try to watch it, it's just a great, because they're all all the whole cast comes back. They go on one last mission and they destroy the Borg cube. I mean, what more do you have to say?
It's a powerful, iconic image.
Yeah.
When the Borg were first introduced, they were fantastic because they were this kind of, how do you stop? They were like a juggernaut. How do you stop this thing?
Yeah.
It's so powerful and so overwhelming and so adaptive in its ability that you just go, it was like a real, conundrum puzzle wrapped in the enigma. How are we ever going to be able to defeat this thing? Really good science fiction. Really good concept. Love the Borg that way, as a villain,
Yeah. No, I mean it's just a great wrap up to that era. Because I don't think we'll see them back. I think this is really the last time we'll see
that
Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard and that whole cast there. Yeah. I mean, maybe individually some of them will come back, but as an ensemble, it was a final tribute to that, and it was
a nice wrap on it.
Yeah.
It's like they did the same thing with the original cast. They had a nice Star Trek 6 Undiscovered Country. They all signatured, signed off. That was a lovely moment when they all signed, and you knew they were done. When they signed, I went, they're done. I went,
Yeah.
that's it. I go,
Yeah.
holy crap. Because when I saw them sign, I knew that was like a love letter to the fans. Just,
Yeah.
here's your autograph.
Yeah.
And then, though, you had Scotty showing up with Geordie on the book. Oh, she's a beauty, you know. Enjoy these days, Geordie. Enjoy these days, you know. And, of course, they were getting older, and Bones showed up for an episode,
Right.
very elderly. And, of course, both James Doohan and DeForest Kelly no longer with us. And Tom
Yeah.
Cactus is all, you know, Nichelle Nichols.
Nichelle Nichols passed away recently too. Yeah.
Yeah, I met her. I was able to meet her at a convention. Throw a question or two at her. It was very nice to meet her.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's just one of those things. Recently, one of our friends, their parents passed away, and it just gets you thinking, like, oh, okay, we're just now in. You know, it's like we're gonna see more of that. You know, it's just preparing you for the inevitable. Because, you know, before it used to be like, oh, my grandparents passed away, you know, like that kind of thing was not as like personal. But now
it's a generation removed. It's an older generation.
Yeah.
People are 40 years older than you, you know. Certainly.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Richard, I think I told a lot of people this, but I didn't tell you any. My mom has a dementia.
Okay.
And so last Christmas I went there, and she started having dementia about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So last Christmas I went there. She recognized me. She actually even read out Christmas cards and birthday cards because her birthday is near Christmas time.
Yeah.
She was able to do that. She, you know, and she even actually missed us too. But one thing we noticed was that she used to love her grandkids, but these kids are right now growing up, so they are changing, so she doesn't recognize them. And when we tell her this is Hayden and this is Kaylin, they they were that, you know, they were that small, you know, how they do that.
In her mind, she wants them to be. That's what she needs them to be.
Yeah, she don't remember them tall, and you know, so she don't recognize them. And she lives near them, right next to them, and I'm living far away. But my wife goes, "Oh, if that's, you know, that's where her time is stuck at, you know, from 5 years ago and beyond. If that's where she's stuck at, I hope she remembers all the good stuff rather than the bad stuff."
Yeah.
I thought about that, and I go, you know what? I look at my life, you know, look at my life backwards, and I remember more good stuff than the bad stuff in my life, and that's what we're here for. When we have more good stuff to remember over the bad stuff, that's when you know you are blessed.
Yeah. Well.
You know? So for my mom saying, you know what, my mom has a lot of good memories, and so
yeah, her long-term memory is good, right, but she doesn't remember the new stuff.
Yeah, but you know, but she does have a good memories to, you know, last her lifetime. So
yeah,
so it's a kind of way to look at it. Look at the life as a, you know, if you have more happy stuff, you probably are blessed. You should be thankful that you're blessed. You're blessed.
Yeah, I agree. I want to ask each of you a question. Naaman, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite comic book, a favorite title, and a favorite issue? And I'll ask Otaku the same question because we're here. I'm not doing the comic book thing too much, so while I have the opportunity, I would like to ask that of you if you can answer for me.
I think Naaman and I kind of have the same.
Okay,
answer, but go ahead, Naaman.
Hit me with
go ahead.
My favorite is it's changing though. It's changing because like I used to collect Commandy and Warlord, Mike Wells Warlord.
Yeah.
A bit, but uh, I'm going more toward uh, I'm going more toward things like this,
Okay.
like science fiction, the world, and you know that I love that soundtrack too. By the way, the
Yeah, I've got the play, the musical, the from the 70s, War of the Worlds 70s.
what was it? Was it?
Soundtrack.
What's his name? Is narrating it? Was Richard Burton's narrating it?
I've got that album.
Yeah, I love that album.
Hang on, I'll show it because I can get it. I know where it is. So to the people that want to know. Oh man, I'll show you a couple of things. Here it is. Okay, I got a couple of things for you. Just because we're talking about War of the Worlds. First of all, I'll show you the War of the Worlds, the one you're talking about. So Richard Burton narrates.
Yep, exactly. That
Oh,
one.
nice.
Yeah.
It's a double album. It's a
Richard
UK
Burton.
album. And Richard Burton does the narration, but H.G. Wells. But
So what's the difference between the two copies you're showing?
so, on Columbia
It's
label.
That's Richard Burton narrated.
Yes.
Yeah,
After they both
it's a retelling. It's a retelling.
yeah.
Yeah. The first kind of movie, I moved from Winnipeg in 66. I show up in Victoria in 71. I'd lived in Victoria previously. We returned. I went to the theater in 1972 to watch this.
I love that movie,
Ooh.
Silent Running.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huey,
Huey,
Dewey, Louie.
Louie. Yeah.
Huey, Dewey, Louie.
Yeah. So that's great. And then
And that's the soundtrack.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
Wow.
speaking of 60,
Wow.
just a lot of fun. And then we were talking about television, 50 years of TV's greatest hits. So theme music
Oh my
from
goodness.
the 60s television shows
Awesome.
and beyond.
That's so awesome.
But that's great. So you're getting more into science fiction. So,
Yeah, I mean, I still like reason I wasn't able to collect Fantastic Four is that whenever I got to my store, it was all gone.
very popular. Yeah.
You get the spinner rack, and I take my Pop Autos in, and I get a couple comic books during the summertime. I get there, only thing that's left is Superman, Justice League.
Yeah.
Every Marvel characters are gone. Occasionally I get X-Men, but Fantastic Four was never there. So at the time I go, oh, they must be stuck in more Superman stories and more, but now I'm thinking about it. Oh yeah, all the kids took the Fantastic Four before I got there. So
Okay. And then for you, Otoku, what's your favorite titles?
Yeah, I'm a Superman guy. I've been in love with Superman since I was a
yeah,
little
me
kid.
too. But I
Yeah.
just want to show something different.
For me though, I'm trying to pick up more Silver Age because I can't afford the Golden Age stuff. So I'm trying to pick up more Silver Age Superman, Silver Age Action Comics.
And even Silver Age is still going to go for a penny.
Right. That's even a challenge. But yeah, in terms of like one of my favorite Superman books in the collection, it's this Neil Adams.
Yeah, I
Action
love the Neil Adams work.
419.
You could have even asked me who drew that, and I would have told you.
Yeah.
It's so discernible.
Beautiful cover.
Now we just lost Neil Adams last year, the year before, I think.
Yeah.
Superman, really interesting character. How would you sell Superman? I like Superman being super invulnerable. I like the ones where he's having a bath in the sun He's just, the sun. He's in the. It's not cooking him. He can do anything. No need for a helmet. He's in space. He can handle. He's invulnerable. Nothing hurts him except kryptonite. You know. So I like him super. It never bores me. People argue. They go, "Oh, don't make him." You know, we like him having more human. He's all weak and somebody. Some petty crook with a gun bumps him on the head, and I don't want that. I want my Superman to be super. I like that.
Yeah. No, he's universal in terms of like, he's a person who has power, but he uses it not for his own benefit, but to protect, his adopted planet, basically. So
has massive humility, like the humility of the Clark Kent. Part of that and always showing mercy, even though he has such great power. Only in the case of when he was up against God, who was the thing that killed him? The death of Superman.
Oh, Doomsday.
Yeah, Doomsday. Where he can fully unleash it. But generally, I like those. The whole Dark Side saga was a wonderful introduction by Kirby to up the level for it. And of course, the New Gods were incredible. Bringing that whole mythos into DC, I think upped their game significantly. Made them a much more viable competitor to Marvel.
Right. Yeah, no, I think Darkseid is probably, if you're talking about Superman's greatest nemesis, you're going to look at Lex Luthor, but Lex Luthor is just a human who's like, got money and is like intelligent. But like, if you're talking about a real, somebody who has power and army and poses a real challenge to Superman, it's definitely Darkseid.
So,
sure.
Yeah. The other villain for Superman I always thought was like really powerful was Brainiac. Brainiac can keep evolving, and it's like Ultron 5, Ultron 6, it just keeps evolving, which is a brilliant thing. Like when you look at Iron Man, another character, these technological based characters that they actually improve and become more sophisticated over time.
See, that's what I call power creep. See, that's what I call power creep. So that you see, when you're telling a story, it's always easier to go power up, right? It's always so you make it. Oh yeah, well, Superman is this powerful. Now he needs to be this powerful to handle this villain. So that's the easy way to telling a story.
Mm-hmm.
But Superman's already there, so you actually have to tell a good story to make Superman's story good.
That's my argument. That's where I would go with the character. I keep him at full power. Use your brain to come around that and try.
Right. So instead of using these power creeps, use the storytelling to make story interesting.
Yeah. I agree.
The idea that Superman is boring because he's all powerful. Well, then your creativity is boring.
Yeah.
Your creativity is boring. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. You got Spider-Man 100 up there. I can tell you, top right. That's Spider-Man issue 100 right there.
Yeah.
That was the last Spider-Man I bought for a long time. That was when he was fighting at Mobius, and he had the 8 arms. All that. Spider-Man issue 99. That was I think it was 97, somewhere 96, 97 was the comic books code. They took that off when he was fighting the Vulture, I think.
Right.
Serves correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing stuff. Spidey 100 right there. Yeah, it was an amazing time. It was a great time to be a kid and to collect comic books. And they still offer something when they're done well. But some of these stories, like I wanted to show everybody, if you ever read any comic book in your life, go through, enjoy Captain America 107, read the original Galactus trilogy, read the Silver Surfer issue. Where is it? In fact, that's one I may have brought up. And Gold. This is one where he battles. Jeez. Oh, I got one more to show. Yeah. Got one more to show. That one I want to show. but it's this one here. The Silver Surfer is captured by Doctor Doom, and
Nice.
Doctor Doom ends up gaining the power cosmic. And I love, there's a great interview with Roy Thomas talking about how to write or how he wrote these things. And he reads it like he came up with the idea. But I know Stan was doing, instead of saying cosmic power, reverse the words and go power cosmic. It just sounds that much cooler. And then this is the one that got me into the Fantastic Four, issue number 64, first appearance of the Kree Sentry.
Wow.
And Ben hits the dartboard. We need a vacation. Opens up, Ben's holding up a massive piece of machinery. He puts a blindfold, he throws a dart, hits this isolated island, just so happens to contain the Kree Sentry. They fight it. Great
Nice
stuff.
book. That is a great book. Yeah.
So that, I think, with that, my part, I think, of the show is done. Is there anything else you guys would like to know? We've been here coming up on almost.
Well, yeah. I mean, you have a channel that you're very active in. Can you tell us?
Let me say something about Rachel's channel. From my observation, she started the this live stream. She took advantage of StreamYard when it first came out. At the time when Rachel was doing live streams, nobody was doing it, right? We were just getting into it. We're just trying to figure out what the live stream is. And she just came out and go, I'm just doing the live stream.
That's awesome.
And she just became a community, place where everybody just hang out at. And in the vinyl community, when the StreamYard came out, that's when Rachel sort of came out, and the story's over.
Yeah. Well, I'm fundamentally lazy is my problem. So when I do a canned video, when you do presentations on music, I'll grab another record. So say I hold this record up and I mention, say, oh, this came out in 2019. And then after I look at it, go, oh shit, 2022. Then I got to go type in when the editing's going on. You see me, and I say, but then I'll correct the error that I'm saying, That's a Psych album by a band called
It's good that you correct. I don't never correct myself.
Yeah, so I found I'm just going to go fire out. So the strength of the medium is it's a medium. It's got a lot of energy like we've got right now because we're happening live. It's impromptu. We're just going boom. So we got a lot of energy. So that's the advantage of doing live stream. The disadvantage is if you say something that gets me mad, I'll tell you screw off. And I get in trouble because I go fuck off. I get all mad and stuff. And I'm still, and I'll never learn. It's unfortunate. I'm going to be 66. It looks like I'll never learn. So it's not for everybody. My show isn't for everybody. And I don't care. It keeps going along. It's got its own thing. For those that get it, it's a home. It's a lot of fun. But if you don't get it, and if you bring attitude or you do stuff, you won't survive. Because I'll kick against you too. So not to be mean to you or anything, but just because it's my show. At the end of the day, it's my show. My thing. If you like it, get in line. Don't give me shit. Don't mouth up against me.
Yeah.
But if you do that, you're going to last a good long while, and everything will be fine, and everybody goes home.
How would you kind of, I guess, characterize the channel, the show? What are you focusing on? What are you talking about? What are you promoting?
Ostensibly, it's about music, but things happen. So because it's live, somebody come out. Did you guys just see what Trump said? And I'll go, no. What did he say? Oh, he said this. He hates soldiers. He hates the military. I go, what? You go, no way, like this. And so then we'll be sidetracked into something like that.
Yeah.
Or we'll be talking along and somebody will introduce something about another channel or something. Oh, they do it way better than you, Rachel. Oh, fuck yeah, go watch that thing, So there are little sidetracks. But sometimes we'll talk about movies. Like I do a thing at the beginning of the show called The Monologue. a lot of, and where I just share whatever I'm thinking, whatever's on the plate. I saw a good movie. I want to tell you about a movie. Oh, I just read this comic. You got to read this thing. If you're into comic, I don't know if you're into comic, get this comic. You got to read this. I just grabbed that. A new book or whatever. Oh, I went out to a record store, and this, it always comes back to this. So, this is a Keith Green Christian album. I love Keith Green. Died in 1982, plane crash. And so we'll talk about different things, right? Philosophy. If I watch something about space-time continuum, I'm always interested in unified field theory and space and our origins as a species, where we are, where we're going, religion, philosophy. I'm interested in all that, and the body politic. Like, I see that. Nikki Haley come, and then with Nikki, and then I'd make a joke. So instead of calling her Nikki Haley, I'll call her Haley Mills, like a referencing the English actress. It's silly, right? So a lot of it is done with humor. My real goal with the program is to make somebody laugh. One good laugh per episode. If I can get one good laugh out of you, good night, folks. My work is done. I'm
well,
and so I try and make it interesting, but ostensibly, ultimately, it's about collecting records and compact discs as well. I got a large compact disc collection,
awesome.
And that's just a hand. That's right there. I got hundreds more.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So
well, this has been. I mean, first of all, it was one of the most entertaining shows, I think. I can right, Naman Young. This has been one of the most entertaining shows we've had in a long time.
I've already seen Rachel in action. So.
Well, and Naman, I'm a big fan. He's the sweetest guy. There's a gentle. He's a gentleman. A real gentleman. And Otaku, I gotta tell you, man, I'm a big fan immediately. It was really a pleasure. And I've subbed you up on my other account. And there is a greater chance that I'll be tuning in on your guys' adventures more than my own people, because I do 3 hours a day talking records and music and bands and pressings. We talk about, like, a record can come out and it'll be branded at one pressing plant, be in another. One's pressed 1 year, one's pressed the other. This one actually sounds better. Everybody goes, what? I want the one that sounds better. Well, you got to get this one then. But what about this one? Unfortunately, what you got is crap. You need to go get the other one, and we always talk, we're endlessly talking. Well, how do you play it? What are you listening to? Well, I got a Rega P6. Oh, are they any good? Not bad. What kind of cartridge you got in that thing, kid? Well, I got an exact cartridge. Yeah, moving coil, moving magnet.
Yeah, that's why I go. I at the vinyl community, I get totally lost. I just go, okay. I cannot tell anything.
If you ever need to get away from that, come, sit on our live stream anytime. You're welcome.
You invite me sometime, whatever, depending on the topic, if it interests me or whatever. I really enjoyed myself being here and meeting you, Otaku, and of course Naman. I know, I flatter myself and say I know Naman well, only because he's been on my show and we connected a long time ago. There are a number of really knowledgeable comic book people in the vinyl community. Well, Brian, I'm sure glad you do, buddy. Boy, oh boy. The more the merrier, I tell you that much. But yeah, every day.
Thanks for showing up here. We're following Rachel. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm every day, guys. Every day, 6 a.m. in the morning till 9 a.m. If you're ever up at that god awful hour on the Pacific Coast, you can tune in and see what I'm up to. And hopefully I can get a laugh out of you and you won't get too mad at me.
No. But thank you for, again, showing us your collection and spending some time with us. This has it's such a great time. And again, Hyung, so you see, go follow Rachel. The channel link is right there. Give her a sub, give her a...
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, I like Trump. If you don't like Trump, though, you probably, although it's funny because I get most of the people on my show.
I don't like Trump, but that's all right.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Most of my followers don't like, I'm in the minority that way. But they put up with me, so if you can put up with that aspect of it, but you have to say it. It's unfortunate. But in 2024, you have to kind of be full disclosure that way because it'll come up.
Yeah.
I've interviewed some big musicians on my channel, some named people, and I interview them. So we go, "Did you tell you that she loves Trump?" Oh, that's helpful. You see the guests go.
Well, I'm glad you're not a closet Trumper.
Oh, I'm out and proud.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you both so very much. So
Thank you. All right.
thanks, Ben.
Bye,
All
guys.
right, well, Ben will do well.
Thanks,
Good
Pat.
night.
Thanks, Pat.
So
Thanks for joining.
let's invite